So guys, you might remember this case from the Super Socket 7 build. Yeah, it had a AMD K6 533 AFX chip in there. And it was pretty good. But you know, I have a regular Socket 7 machine and I have this slot 1, so it seemed kind of pointless having a Super Socket 7 machine. So with that in mind, I took out the Gigabyte GA5AX board with the Ali Aladdin 5, ALI Aladdin 5 chipset, and I decided to beef it up and put the slot 1 motherboard back in there. I did do a full recap on this board. I had done a partial recap when I first got it.
So this is an MSI MS6119 version 1.1 BX2. So I've replaced all the capacitors here, the 1500 microfarad capacitors, and we put in some, they were 6.3 volt the old rating, so we put in some Panasonic 10 volt capacitors.
There we go, an entirely fully capped main board. Got rid of all these crappy, what are they, Chissy, I think they're named. Here we are with the slot 1 CPUs. Pentium 2, Pentium 3, and another Pentium 3. The first Pentium 3 is 500 MHz with 512 megabytes of cache. This one is 700 MHz with 256 megabytes of cache. Now, I have been using this really nice Pentium 2 in the build up until now, but we're going to go with the Pentium 3. And even though the cache is a consideration, I'm going to go with this one here. This is our 700 megahertz with, I don't know if you can see it there, with the 700 megahertz, 256 megabytes of cache, 100 megahertz front side bus, and 1.65 volts on the V-core. So yeah, we're going to go with this Pentium 3 in the build. For the RAM, we're going to go with 3 sticks of 128 megabyte PC100 bog standard RAM, giving us a total of 384 megabytes. More than enough for a system of this vintage. So this computer is all about the 3D gaming. Everything from kind of Quake 1 onwards, kind of that mid-90s, right up until like 2001 till 2002. So I want to have the ability to play in glide mode, so we've got our two 3dfx Voodoo 2s in 1K in SLI. For sound, just because it's really easy and it's a really nice card, we're going to go with the Sound Blaster Live. So with this Windows 98 build being all about the late 90s, early 2000s kind of 3D games, I decided to go with a graphics card that could offload the workload from the CPU onto a GPU. So with that, we have two flavors of the GeForce256. The first here is the 3D Prophet from Guillemot or Hercules. This is a regular GeForce 256 SDR. We also have the GeForce 256 from Asus, the V68000, and this is the DDR flavor. So we've both cards to test out in the Windows 98 build. So something else I've started doing is I'm now using kind of SSDs, because the price is getting really cheap, and dealing with kind of, you know, the reliability issues with hard disk drive spinners. Ain't nobody got time for that. So yeah, SATA to IDE converter and a solid state drive. Really handy. You can whip this out, put it in a docking station, load up whatever files you want and put it back in the machine. So let's get the case back together. I'll fire up the OSSC, which I just recently got back. It needed repairing, so I had to send it back for repairs. I plugged in the wrong wall wart. Center negative. Note to self, always mark your wall warts. But yeah, let's fire up the OSSC and I'll capture some footage. So just a note on kind of capturing video from older PCs like this. I use both the cheap SCART to HDMI converter and the OSSC through a kind of HDMI switch that goes over to my Elgato. I have the OSSC hooked up at the moment. But when capturing Quake, Duke Nukem kind of older games, I have to use the cheap SCART to HDMI. The reason for that is it interprets all footage the same and just sends it over to the Elgato. But that's where one of these cheap ass things come in. HDMI here, your VGA, audio, and it needs power, it needs USB. And that then goes into the input, the HDMI input of the HDMI scaler, the cheap one.
Stuck. Won't budge. Won't budge. Won't budge.
So I'm nearly sure this could be a driver thing, because I installed the Asus kind of suite of tools that came with the GeForce256 DDR. But you may have noticed from Alice, the Quake 3 engine game, that the frame rate was very low. And previously I had installed the GeForce256 SDR, and the frame rate was way higher than that. So I'm nearly sure this is a driver thing, but before I kind of changing drivers up, maybe reinstalling Windows or something, get a clean install on there, I'm going to try the SDR. So I'll try this. So I've got a Alice running now on the GeForce 256 SDR, and the frame rate is much improved. If I zoom in there, you'll see, we're at 40 something frames per second, 43 point something. Alright, so it's time to say goodbye to this Windows installation. Because it's an SSD, I have my kind of docking station set up over there. So once I've reinstalled the operating system, I can quickly get the drivers back on there. Let's get our Windows 98. Okay, so that was one of the quickest kind of installs. I know it's not over, but... and of course my serial number. So that's all the major drivers kind of transferred. It's time to get the SSD back in. So let's have a look then. See how this is gonna work. Yeah, eventually I want to get a little bit of sticky back Velcro, attach some to the case and some to the drive, so that it just kind of holds it somewhat there. So, system info detected, there we go, our SLI is working. So, settings, advanced, GeForce256, very cool. So our drivers have stuck. We should be good to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to install American McGee's Alice, and we'll see how that goes. So we have American McGee's Alice up and running again. So I think the last frame rate was in around 43. It was really low, even lower than that when I was using the 256 DDR. So I just kind of frame it up a bit better. There we go. So if I just hit escape, so you can see it there, we're at 77 frames per second. You can kind of see it there, 77, yeah, odd frames per second. So I figured while we had the side off the case that I would take out the GeForce 256 SDR, and we put the DDR one in, and fire up Alice again, just to see the difference. Yeah, so you can see immediately we're on 90 odd frames per second there. So yeah, I'm going to get the side of the case back on, get the capture stuff hooked back up, but I think we're going to stick with the GeForce 256 DDR.
Our land is destroyed, our spirit crushed.
Reminds me of the asylum. Is there no joy here?
Slavery and happiness do not dwell in the same house.
I wish to get very small, no bigger than a mouse. Do you know how I might do that?
Only that? Oh yes, I could manage that. For a price.
I have nothing of value.
You have nerve and your health. Mine are nearly gone. I've seen too much suffering, and I smoke too much, you see.
What must I do?
In the Card Guard's compound, a particularly rough diamond holds a key. Retrieve it. I will repay the favor.
My thanks to you, Patrick. What the hell is that? Sounds like it came from downstairs.
I'll check it out. Lock the door behind me.
A reminder to all Black Mesa personnel. Regular radiation and biohazard screenings are a requirement of continued employment in the Black Mesa Research Facility. Missing a scheduled urinalysis or radiation checkup is grounds for immediate termination. If you feel you have been exposed to radioactive or other hazardous materials in the course of your duties, contact your radiation safety officer immediately. Work safe. Work smart. Your future depends on it.
Gordon doesn't need to hear all this. He's a highly trained professional. We've assured the administrator that nothing will go wrong.
Gordon, get away from the shutting down. No. Attempted shutdown. It's not shutting down. It's not.
This is as far as I go.
Freeze! Who are you? What are you doing here?
Sorry, but it looks like your party has been cancelled.
So what's the plan with all these kind of retro PC builds? Well, as is the flavour on this channel, I'm going to continue kind of doing my mods, console repairs, builds, stuff like that. But the idea is to have a selection of PCs that I can play games over on my other channel, the streaming and gaming channel. PCs and consoles. So the kind of focus is playing games on original hardware. So for example, Half-Life. So we have the perfect Half-Life 1 machine here. And over there we have a Windows XP build for Half-Life 2. And then of course we can go to the modern rig with the headset there, the Oculus Rift for Half-Life Alyx. The same with the Quake series. So the XP machine will be featuring in an upcoming video. But, you know, we've the Pentium 1 Socket 7 build. We can play games on that. And I have my console collection as well. So it's not so much about expanding the console collection or the PC collection, but just having original hardware for playing the games I'm interested in and featuring those over on my gaming channel. So yeah, so that's been the Windows 98 build. I'm super stoked with it. I'm going to have like different hardware profiles set up so that if I want to put like other graphics cards in there, I can, and I can just select whatever profile I need on startup, something I intend to do with the Windows XP machine as well. But that's the idea. We'll continue building projects, repairing consoles, tinkering around with electronics on this channel, and then on the other channel, those consoles and PCs and builds and everything will feature on kind of a gameplay, where we actually play them and talk a little about them. So cool, guys. Should have the XP video coming very soon. Just still waiting on a couple of bits and pieces for that. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll chat to you all again.